The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
When stories leap from page to screen, we break them down and talk them through. From classic books to wild adaptations, we're stripping comics just for you. Comic strips, hey! Comic strips, hey! We take the tales you love and give them a twist. Every frame, every edit, every plot we picked. It's your friendly neighborhood comic strips.
My children who hate all of my AI art, the music, the pictures, all of it, they are going to be the first line soldiers in the war against the clankers.
Well, that's good.
Hate that I replaced the comic book store theme. A theme that I stole, by the way. I used that without permission from the birth of this show until very recently. And when I was like, I now have enough tools at my disposal to easily create my own themes. I don't need to steal from other people. It's why I got rid of TV Party. It's why I got rid of the Muppets. It's why I got rid of the comic book store. And do you know, Evan Bevins, the first thing they said when they heard the last comic strip was, "Oh, you got rid of the comic book store. That sucks. I love that song." I mean, nothing is stopping them from going on YouTube and listening to it as much as they want. But they were mad at me for replacing it with the theme that's currently on the show, which I enjoy, by the way.
Well, how about you have your kids record all your theme songs?
You know what? My daughter actually made that offer. She was like, "Can we redo these, but I'll sing them?" And I'm like, "Sure. Come out of your room, stop going on watching endless YouTube videos and animes and reading manga, and actually do any of the things you said you would do." And it's a lot of pressure for a 15-year-old. I'm sure you can relate.
Oh, yeah. And hey, I don't know about singing, but if you need somebody to lay down a fat trombone track, your guy.
When Echoes from the Brassy Knoll becomes a full-fledged New Orleans jazz musical experience, I will contact you because I'm sure I'm going to need a white middle-aged tromboner.
Of course.
Kind of want to do like an Old and in the Way, but New Orleans jazz version. All right, welcome to Comic Strip. Tonight we're talking The Road to Perdition. Before I jump into our introductory read, we're working through the list of books that were adapted into movies, little-known books and movies for the most part. Though this one, Road to Perdition, while people may not have known it was adapted from a book, it apparently won an Oscar for Best Cinematography. It's critically acclaimed. A real departure for Tom Hanks, who I don't have his filmography in front of me, but I was actually thinking about, like, this is the guy who, you don't know it when it's happening, but he was on Bosom Buddies. And he's gonna and he's gonna do movies like The Money Pit for a while. And then he's gonna do Big and Philadelphia, and then you see him in this, and you're like, this happy-go-lucky, dope-faced motherfucker is just walking around shooting people in the head in bathtubs.
Not as many people as his counterpart in the comics, though.
No, it's a... By the way, have you noticed, like, every book that we do now is, like, John Wick adjacent? We are doing a lot of, like lone gunman books.
Well, I mean, you've undercut my planned Depression-era John Wick joke, but yeah, you're right.
Here's John Wick in the future. Here's John Wick in a corporate office. Here's John Wick in Prohibition era.
Yeah, that's definitely what I thought, although I am glad, spoiler alert, the dog survives the movie.
Yes, I was very happy about that as well. Any idea, and I'm just curious, because you read comic books from what I've been told. The public relations packet that was handed to me by my assistant on you, because I don't know you. You were called by my staffing department.
I even have random comic books just sitting around right here.
Right. I've been told you are an expert and authority, if it were, on
Oh, well.
comic books. So, any idea why so many of the books that we're doing that got adapted into movies and TV shows, a lot of these like independent, non-Marvel, non-DC books, end up being this John Wick lone gunman style, kill everything that moves type of thing?
Male power fantasy fulfillment?
I would like to hear more about your male power fantasies. Please continue.
Oh, not me personally. No, I'm not sure. I mean,
Tell me more about how you want to kill people, Evan.
sure thing, Ronnie. No, I mean, it's funny on IMDb now they've got a plot keyword for stuff like this. I haven't seen if Road to Perdition has it, but I assume it does for One Man Army. I mean, John
Okay.
Wick and all that stuff. It's just, I don't know. I guess it's the underdog, against all odds. Guy won't back down, doing what at least he thinks is right.
Mhm.
Got questions about that too. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like, the people like these iconic type heroes who are going to, take care of business. I mean, we talked about one a while back. That wasn't a lone gun man. It was Jennifer Garner in Peppermint, which made me
Right.
words that she was too sweet to be a professional killer in Elektra. So and a lot of times what sets them off, even though I don't endorse mass murder or revenge killings, is something very understandable.
Hot take, Evan Bevins. I don't endorse mass killings.
That's right, folks. Yep, signed. Yeah, but remember, the views expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Mark Radulich. So,
or W2M Network.
Yeah, that's right.
Last thing on this, and then we'll get further into the show. I do like what you said there about comic books and then their adaptations into movies being expressions of male power fantasies. The feeling of the world is too big, too complex, and too overwhelming for me, little old me, little man, to do anything about. But what if and it kind of goes to a conversation that Jesse and I were having about Batman. What if I don't have to obey the rules anymore? What if the consequences don't affect my world? What if I could take all of my energy and point it as a vector at the things that are disrupting my life? And what would that look like? Now, I'm guessing that could look like a lot of things, but the most easily legible and recognizable thing is guy with gun kills lots of people.
Indeed. Or guy with bat costume hangs lots of people upside down from fire escapes.
Yeah. Check out tomorrow we're going to be doing the fugitive side of it, but when we did Batman Bruce Wayne Murderer, and I said, it was cowardly of him to do away with the Bruce Wayne persona so that he could just be Batman all the time, because if he's Bruce Wayne, he has to actually be responsible and deal with the world as it operates, even as a billionaire. I said, as Batman, he has no, he doesn't have to follow any rules, and he can kind of just brat out. And I wonder how many people look at books like Road to Perdition, like, God, I wish I was Michael Sullivan, and or John Wick, or the guy from Polar, or any one of these books that we've done, where it's just like, I wish I could just get a gun and kill all my enemies, and that would be great.
Thereby bypassing how delightful their lives are before, after, and during their killing sprees.
Sure. All right. So I got a thing here I want to read. What's fascinating about Road to Perdition is that the movie isn't just an adaptation, it's a translation. Same premise, same characters on paper, but two very different goals depending on the medium. In the graphic novel, Max Allan Collins is working in pulp tradition. This thing is closer to Lone Wolf and Cub than it is to The Godfather. It's episodic, it's harsher, and it treats violence as both myth and routine. Michael O'Sullivan isn't softened. He's a professional killer raising a son inside a violent system, and the story leans into that contradiction without trying to resolve it emotionally. The world is bigger, the criminal network feels more sprawling, and the journey itself matters more than any one emotional beat. It's about movement, survival, and the inevitability of violence passing from father to son. Sam Mendes' film strips that down deliberately. He's not interested in the broader mob ecosystem. He collapses the narrative into something more intimate, more classical. The movie becomes a father-son tragedy first, crime story second. The biggest change, everything else flows from that decision. Start with Michael Sullivan. Casting Tom Hanks fundamentally alters the character. In the book, he's harder, more distant. In the film, Hanks brings restraint and buried emotion, which reframes Sullivan as a man aware of what he is and desperate, at least in some quiet way, for his son not to become him. That's not as pronounced in the graphic novel. The film needs that because it's chasing emotional clarity, not just thematic consistency. Then there's structure. The book is episodic, almost like a series of encounters. The film is streamlined into a clean arc, inciting incident, pursuit, dismantling the Rooney organization, resolution. It's not an accident. Film demands compression. You've got 2 hours, not an open-ended narrative. So the story becomes more focused, more linear, and frankly, more digestible for mainstream audience. Jude Law's character of Harlan Maguire is another key addition. He's expanded in the film into something almost symbolic, a photographer of death, someone who documents violence as much as he participates in it. That doesn't exist in the same way in the book. Why add him? Because cinema is visual. Cinema! Mendes uses Maguire as a meta device. He's not just a villain, he's a lens. He reinforces the film's obsession with image, memory, and how violence is observed and remembered. The tone shift is probably the most obvious difference. The graphic novel is blunt, direct, and rooted in pulp storytelling. The film is elegiac. Conrad Hall's cinematography, Thomas Newman's score, everything is designed to slow the story down and let it breathe. Violence in the movie is just something that happens. It lingers. The rain scene is perhaps the perfect example. In the book, that's a moment. In the film, it's an experience. And then there's John Rooney. In both versions, he's a father figure. Both Newman's performance adds a layer of regret and inevitability that deepens the dynamic. The film leans harder into the idea that Rooney knows exactly how this ends and chooses not to stop it. That's tragedy. That's Mendes pushing the material toward something more classical, almost Shakespearean. So why make these changes? Because the mediums demand it. The graphic novel can live in ambiguity and sprawl. It can let violence feel cyclical and unresolved. The film needs focus. It needs emotional through lines, visual cohesion, and performance that carry subtext without pages of narration. But there's also an audience consideration. The book is niche. The film is mainstream. You cast Tom Hanks, you're not making a cold-blooded crime procedural. You're making something that engages with morality, fatherhood, and legacy in a way that broader audiences can connect to. What's interesting is that neither version is more correct. They're doing different jobs. The graphic novel presents violence as inheritance, something you're born into and can't escape. See every show that Jesse and I did during the From the Corner to the Deuce. The film asks a slightly different question. Maybe the father is already lost, but can the son still get out? That's the real pivot. The book is about inevitability. The movie is about possibility, however slim. Same road, different destination. So my first question is, any argument with that? Did you hear anything that popped at you and like, oh, I don't really see it that way?
A little bit. I mean, I agree. I saw the movie when it was in theaters, and literally all I remembered was Tom Hanks and Jude Law were in it. Like I even forgot Paul Newman. Has he done some other stuff? I think
Salad dressing mostly.
Okay, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, he's nice. He's nice on a nice garden salad.
Okay, right. Okay, I knew the name sounded familiar.
Yeah.
So I did not, and actually the vague memories of that kind of informed my reading of the comic, because like the first time I saw O'Sullivan in the comic, I was like, kind of looks like Tom Hanks, but the art was very inconsistent. Like sometimes I only knew it was him because I was told it was him. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was good art, but I don't know, his face didn't quite work for me. But so I got some of that, that he didn't want his son to turn out like him. I mean, yes, violence is inherited, but I think in the comic, his son does get out of it. Mm-hmm. And so at first, when I was watching the movie, I was a little annoyed. I'm like, oh, so they're going to just going to let the kid off the hook and not put him in this situation. Because what I liked in the book was that clash. Because I mean, even some of my notes are like, oh yeah, it's wrong to kill somebody if they're your family or you like them, but otherwise, sure. But the book doesn't ever try to say that. It says, hey, look, here's a contradiction. Here's this guy who goes to confession every time he shoots somebody, but apparently only read select parts of the Bible. it shows you that.
May I interrupt you and ask you a question? I swear to God, I'm not picking at you when I say this. I'm not picking at you. I'm not picking at Ronnie. I'm not picking at anybody who, or Robert, or anybody who the church is a pillar of their life. I'm asking because you're good people to ask. It doesn't make much sense if I ask my dad, who's a fucking atheist. But do you think there are limits to confessions? Like, the concept of confession is you go, you confess your sins, you are washed clean, you make penance, you try to do better. Well, when you go to confession, it's like, I murdered people. I did horrendous things. Tell me, what penance do I make, and then wash me clean? And it's like, at what point does it stretch the credulity of the institution of confession, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, I mean, confession is not strictly a Catholic thing, but the ritual of confession is Catholic, and I'm not Catholic, so I don't know it well from that perspective. I mean,
I was not insinuating you were Catholic, by the way.
No, okay. I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah,
as long as we're clear on that.
No, I hung out with the Catholics all the time in college. They had the biggest TV on campus. So yeah, we watched a lot of movies at the Catholic Center. But
are you here to avail yourself of your sins, my boy? No, I'm actually here to watch the Lakers game. You have it on the big TV, Father.
Father Bill would have been cool with that. However, so when I talk about that, I'm not necessarily talking about the ritual of confession, if ritual is even the right word. But I mean, yes, from my understanding of the Bible, God will forgive you of anything if you're sincere, but it's not like I knew a guy who used to tell us all the time that he was going to church, he was Catholic, and then about all the trouble he was going to get into, how much he was going to drink and everything. And someone said, why do you tell us about, how you're Catholic, and then, you're so religious, and then you go out and get, blackout drunk? And he said, well, I go to confession. I'm like, well, no, that's not, because I mean, you don't just confess and go, oh, hey, God, sorry, and then go right back out and do the same thing. That's what repenting is turning from that behavior. Now, are you going to mess up again? Sure, we're all human, but just going, oh, I killed those guys, really sorry about it, gotta go kill some more guys, doesn't feel sincere. However, I did feel like there was some sincere.
Kind of what I'm struggling with. That's why I brought this up.
Yeah. I mean, people are going to make mistakes. There's been stuff that I'm like, I shouldn't do that again, and I've screwed up and done it. But it's one thing to be human and say, God, I failed, please forgive me, and another to go, hey, no biggie, God's got this. I'm just going to go right ahead and flip this guy off, steal this money, whatever. It's all good.
We have a comment here. Hey, bro, I don't understand what you're saying. We are talking about a part of the Road to Perdition graphic novel where a character who commits mob murders also goes to confession. And I'm just saying there might be a disconnect.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's part of the story in the comic and the movie, is because I don't know, a lot of times religion, and I think especially Catholicism, because the symbols are so much more visual. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, how come there's no Methodists in these movies? We weren't as dramatic. I think it is just used for symbolism. And it's like, hey, I am a Christian, therefore this, and it doesn't really inform their character. Like Daredevil, everybody always talks about all the religious themes in Daredevil, and yet the most comic accurate thing they've done in the MCU is have Daredevil jump into bed with She-Hulk 5 minutes after meeting her, because that's Matt Murdock.
There was a period of time in history, in antiquity, that the Catholic Church was a superpower. And I think that because the Catholic Church, even before like the scandals broke, so we're talking like pre-1980 here and, beyond, I think writers like Greg Rucka, Michael Bendis, a lot of these famous comic book writers, because as we're talking about this has come up before. The one that you hate because he's also pretty anti-religion, the one that I love, he did Billionaire Island.
I don't hate it. No, you're getting me mixed up. I don't hate Mark Russell. I don't.
Mark Russell, yes.
I didn't.
Well, Mark Russell did the Jesus comic you didn't like.
I didn't read it.
Okay. Yes, because it was going to be a little, from what I remembered of you talking about it, this was going to be a little too satirical and or disrespectful to something that's relatively important to you. And Mark Russell tends to handle everything with a bit of smugness, which I can respect. I mean, I like him. You seem to like him too, but
like can you?
but Mark Russell can be a bit much. My point is, I think a lot of these guys probably Catholic or Catholic adjacent enough that they feel the need to, in their writing, interrogate Catholicism as an institution. And I'm bringing it up because the book's dealing with it. There's no way there's no reason for him to include the confession stuff without raising the point of he's got to be looking at the institution of Catholicism and finding inconsistencies within it. That's why I'm talking about. That's why I'm making a big deal about this.
Yeah. I didn't take it, and maybe it's just my perspective, as much as questioning the institution as questioning the people who seem to place so much importance in this, because there's all these in the movie and the book, there's all these codes of ethics and honor and things like that. And I'm like, well, how can you be an honorable person when if this guy doesn't give you enough money, you just blow his brains out? Well, like I don't understand. But again, I don't think the book was saying, yeah, this is the way to go. You honor people unless they don't pay their debts. I think it's saying, hey, what's the problem here?
Well, now that you mentioned that, it's an interesting thing that you mentioned that, because we had a comment here. I wasn't going to address it the way he's intending to. I would prefer if the comments actually participated in the discussion we're having, not the other way around. But he says Palestine or Israel. And I was thinking about Israel, the country, Israel, the culture, Jewish as culture, Jewish as religion, and how people what's the word I'm looking for? Engage with any of those pillars, engage with any of those ways of being. And I'm wondering, because you had said, I don't think he's interrogating the institution of Catholicism. He's instituting people's behavior who claim to be Catholic and how they engage with Catholicism. And I'm wondering how much of this is, because this is Irish, so I'm going to include that, Irish Catholic culture, and not really engaging with the principles or the strict institutional belief practices. Like, we go to confession. Michael Sullivan goes to confession because Irish Catholics go to confession.
Yeah.
You tell the priest that you murdered a guy because you're supposed to tell him your sins. That there is no inherent belief in the washing and innocence and trying to be better, as opposed to, I will engage with the ritual like Muslims do of, praying at certain times of the day, or, Jewish people do, and, and the things that they do as a structure, where a lot of this is just cultural practice, not necessarily attached to strict belief. I would imagine in almost every single one of these cases, for a lot of people, relating this back to the book, it's just what we do. I don't think about it. It's as much of my life as walking and breathing and putting on clothing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that definitely can happen. I mean, if you're doing something out of habit rather than looking at the reason you're doing it. I mean, what was I won't be able to pull this up. Maybe I can vamp long enough, but I mean that's in the Bible. A lot of the people that Jesus had the most issue with were the religious leaders who were supposed to know this stuff and who only practiced it for show.
Right.
So hang on. Here we go. Sorry, I didn't vamp long enough. I know you wanted me to quote scripture, but Matthew 23, verse 27, 28, woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of the dead and everything unclean. It's like they put on a show, but their hearts weren't changed. They didn't mean it. They wanted people to go, hey, look how religious these guys are. And then they were oppressing people, mistreating people. Some of them actively killed the fulfillment of all the prophecy they said they believed in. And so that's been a problem for a long time. People go through the motions, engage culturally or with ritual without any meaning behind it.
Do you think the movie did as good or better a job of presenting that? Or do you think the movie just sort of briefly touches it and then runs as far away from that as possible because it wants to do other stuff?
I think it more briefly touches it. Like there definitely wasn't. We got a couple scenes in a church, but I can't remember. I just watched it this morning. I can't remember if there was actually a confession scene. Like they didn't have one of my favorite lines in the comic, which was something to the effect of the son says, "Oh, we Irish are where is it? We Irish are naturally pale, but not as pale as the priests after my father gave his confession."
I remember that scene.
Yeah. So, but it did touch on a little, like there's a line that's in the movie that I don't think's in the book where Mr. Rooney says, hang on, I wrote this one down. There are only murder, when Sullivan is trying to get him to give up his son to stop this, bloodbath. And he says, he's like, well, there are only murderers in this room. None of us will see heaven. And Tom Hanks says Michael can. And, it's like, well, sure. But, maybe if you believed in all this stuff, you'd see that you could be forgiven if you confessed and knocked it off. But now, to be fair, having never been in a mobster, Irish mafia family, whatever, it's probably not easy to just go, nope, I'm done. I mean, there are plenty of movies about that too,
and television shows with a particular producer I'm very fond of.
From the corner to the deuce.
Yes.
Okay.
David Simon.
Yeah. So, but I mean, so that was in there, but I felt that was more surface level, which I mean that's okay. I didn't put on Road to Perdition to get my Sunday school fix. I don't think it was handled. I don't think there was as much attention paid to it in the movie as it was in the book.
Any other issues from what I had read that you wanted to touch on before I'm going to kind of kick it over to you to go through your notes for discussion points?
No, I did agree, even though maybe I didn't look at it the same way, with the idea that, the movie and the book were kind of, chasing different goals. So other than getting hung up on why they dropped the O from O'Sullivan and changed Looney to Rooney, because, I get stuck on details like that. I didn't really have any complaints about that. What the movie did, and this will surprise you, but I thought of something Marvel related while watching this. This story is how Logan should have gone. Like there's a line in Logan where he tells X-23, "You don't have to be what they made you." And how does the movie resolve? By her being exactly what they made her to be, by killing every single person that stood in her way.
I got to stop you there because I want to talk about that. You're a creative person. You're a writer. You're not wearing your press hat currently that says press on it, but your derby that says press on it. But
it's up the dry cleaner.
Yeah, I understand. But along with your underwear. But do you think
I never talk about my underwear on the internet.
And I just wrote a song called Naked Swimming. You're talking to the wrong guy.
But it doesn't involve underwear, does it? I mean,
it does not.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Do you think there's a lack of creativity across comics, movies, not necessarily television, but where the resolution just seems to be kill everybody? Like, it could something Robert and I have talked about on any number of occasions about. It's like you're writing a really great movie here, but either between a lack of creativity or a lack of audience imagination, the conclusions are always fuck all fight. For a while there, it was blue laser in the sky, but that was a very brief kind of aesthetic window at one point. But I think because I watch so many movies, I read so many books, I watch a lot of television, not as much as the movies. I notice patterns. That's kind of my superpower, and I'm noticing that you can get through all of these stories, and then it gets to the end, and it's the same ending every time. And I kind of wanted you just to wax intellectual about your thoughts on why the audience can't seem to appreciate anything but a big fuck all fight, kill everybody, or why the writers can't figure out another way to do this without doing that.
I don't know if I'd say it's a lack of creativity. Off the top of my head, I think it's neater that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's tidier. If everybody blows up, you don't have any loose ends to tie up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take
It's more conclusive,
the Batman.
is what you're saying.
What's that?
It's more conclusive, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
For the audience, they want to see things tied up and compressed, so it's not so big and sprawling that they're left unsatisfied. It's kind of like, here, you've gone through this really great meal from soup and salad to dinner, and now here's the dessert. Here's a big slice of cheesecake, you fat fuck. As opposed to like a plate of berries or something like that.
Well, I mean, think about I don't know, the Batman movies.
Yeah.
Okay. So first Batman, 30-some-year-old spoiler alert, guys. First Batman, Joker dies.
Right.
Second Batman, Penguin dies. Catwoman maybe dies for like the 8th time. Maybe she's still alive. And then you get to Batman Forever, and Two-Face dies, but we already had the Riddler discover that Batman is Bruce Wayne, so he's got to die too, right? No, he's just going to be crazy, and no one's going to believe him. I think people kind of want those loose ends tied up, or to go into comic books. Every villain comes back all the time, and then
Mm-hmm.
Daredevil and the Punisher are arguing, and he's like, well, if you kill him, you don't have this problem. Well, clearly Frank hasn't read a comic book because everybody comes back. But I mean, there is something to be said for, if there's not a final solution, it can keep happening over and over. Maybe that's it. We talked about Meteor Man last month, and
Mm-hmm.
Meteor Man, every time he did something, the Golden Lords came back and were still a problem until all the other gangs were nice and pointed guns at him. So not everybody had to die, but nothing he did ended it until there was this Deus Ex Machina at the end.
Sure. Yeah, I just and someone, if any one of these writers were on this podcast right now, they were like, okay, well, how would you like to end some of these stories that's satisfying for the audience, the paying audience? And I think that's where I get caught up, because I wonder, because there have been times where I have seen an ending. I'll give you the perfect example of this. So any movie that involves any kind of sexual tension between a man and a woman, the male lead and the female lead, has to end with the guy getting the girl, right? That's emotionally satisfying. That's emotionally resonant. That is structurally consistent, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guy gets the girl. Except in Pacific Rim, after building up all that sexual tension, they just sit there in the water, and they're like, good job, like fist bump or something. And you're like, oh, that's why it's so memorable to me. In a movie of will they or won't they don't.
Yeah. Well, recently, a few months ago, I finally watched Twisters.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even remember why I was looking this up, but like I found something and it's like, oh no, they didn't get together at the end. They just respect each other.
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't read that at all in the movie. I just thought maybe you were like, hey, we could do a movie with a bunch of tornadoes and cool action and not have them jump into bed together. And then I'm like, oh no, they were just friends. And I'm like, I don't pursue friends like that. Maybe that's why I don't have more. I don't know.
You need to be more sexually aggressive for your platonic friends, Evan.
It's like you want to hang out? Okay, no biggie. I'll go hang out with bad Superman. So yeah, I see what you're saying there, but yeah, I do as much as I get tired of like high body count movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like sometimes having the bad guy fall off something high, blow up or whatever, it's like, okay, that's it. It's over. We don't have to worry about witness protection. But sometimes, and no, I'm not going to pull a good example, but sometimes, the aftermath can be interesting too. Like with the newer Halloween movies, it was like, part of the interesting thing about that was like, well, if you are the final girl, how does your life change?
Sorry.
No, that's so yeah, I think that's it, is that it puts a bow on the story. And I mean, in this one, as much as I would have liked it, I don't think Jude Law showing up at the house on the lake and going, you know what? The guys who hired me are dead. Why don't we just shake hands on this and have a beer together? That I would have kind of liked that, but I don't think it would have worked in the movie.
Yeah, that's the problem with 700 billion people on the planet. We're all not going to agree on what a satisfying ending is. So assumptions have to be made. And when I think the vast majority want to see, your lead guy get the girl or blow away the enemy, or, now this one ends tragically, Jude Law kills Tom Hanks in the end, and then Tom Hanks ends up shooting him back.
Yeah,
but
preventing his son from taking a life.
I was just about to say that, like, the emotional hinge point in the movie is that we don't want the son to turn into the father. And that's like the big takeaway, I think, from both the book and the movie is I'm lost. I'm gone already. If you actually want a silly example of this, like the silliest of examples, the last bit that Anakin Skywalker says to Luke on the Death Star in Return of the Jedi, he's like, I've brought you back from the dark side. I now have to physically get you off this, exploding base in space. And he's just like, don't, I'm good. Like, it's not quite Harrison Ford in the last Indiana Jones. Just kill me already. Let me die. It was, you've already saved me. I'm physically.
I hear that was his pitch when they gave him the script to Force Awakens too.
He's been saying it for a while. Just let me die. I'm Harrison Ford. Kill me already. But where I was going with this was, him saying to Luke essentially, like, the point of this was to not become me. And you not only resisted the dark side, but you saved me too. You've done enough. Get the fuck off of this thing before it explodes. Meanwhile, I'm like half a cripple with no lungs. I'm good. I will go be with Qui-Gon, and all will be peaceful in the world.
And I hear those Ewoks throw some banging parties. So
we don't talk about the Endor celebration party. A lot of boundaries were violated that night.
Celebrate the love. Yub yub.
Yub. Coke is up to you. Yub yub. So I think that was the point. That was the point of the end of Road to Perdition, the book and the movie. It was, I'm gone. I'm lost. I'm a murderer, and I'm going down with the ship. But you don't have to do this. You have a shot at getting out. And in the movie, where the kid's like, does he shoot him and join the dark side? And Tom Hanks saves his son, and like that's the emotionally resonant part about this. Is, as parents, we should save our children from being as bad as we are and hope they become better. No, there is a thing out there where parents want their children to turn out worse than they do. It's an amazing world out there.
Yeehaw. Yeah, that was what I meant with Logan. Like, some of my favorite Wolverine stories are where he does dark things, even things I don't agree with, to keep the younger mutants from having to do them. Like,
right.
There was a whole storyline where Cyclops put together a Black Ops X-Force team, and Wolverine's like, no, you've gone overboard. We're not doing this. And then he kicks off all the, semi-innocent ones and gets the like baddest of the bad X-Men, and is like, okay, now we're going to go take care of this stuff. Cause our to borrow another Marvel phrase, our ledgers are already, drenched in red. So we're going to go do this and protect these kids.
So you have notes. What are some of the notes that you wanted to discuss?
Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I just, I with the tension between this sense of honor and then what they actually do, there were some interesting lines, like, when I think in the comic, when his wife asks him something about his work, he says, "We don't question how Mr. Looney makes his money. It's not our place. We won't speak of it again."
Mhm.
Um, and then I think it showed a flashback where Looney, says, "Hey, you were a good soldier. This is what you're good at. I will never ask you to employ your terrible talents on the innocent. Only the disloyal or other soldiers, servants of my enemies. I won't have you do
A
anything
moving
innocent.
definition
Yeah,
of
just the people that I don't like. Like this guy, flipped me off today. You need to take care of him. That's a disrespect." But again, that wasn't a bug in the story. That was a feature. That was this. Oh yes, I'm a man of honor. Hey, that guy tried to shoot me because his boss told him to shoot me, so I'm going to shoot him. As far as the art, I thought the art was pretty effective. Like I said, sometimes it felt like O'Sullivan's face changed a little bit, but especially after what was it, Polar, that we went through, where it was kind of experimental and mostly silent and stuff. I ended up on Hoopla, it goes like panel by panel, and I ended up a lot of times reading this full page. I can't quite say why. I just wanted to see the layout, and it's a very simple, straightforward layout. I don't know what that means. I'm not much of an art critic, but it stood out to me like there wasn't a bunch of shooting from one panel into the other or things like that. It was just like, hey, this is what it is. And maybe that was because it was a story that was, grounded in reality rather than, the fantastical and science fiction and underwear on the outside and stuff like that. Let's see. Oh yeah, who was when someone was saying how terrible it was that his family was killed. We're not animals, we're businessmen. So the difference is, well, if you don't agree with who got killed, it's a problem.
Can we talk about how being a part of the mob is a pointless endeavor? Hear me out on this. The point of joining the mob, a gang, or whatever, there's two. It's protection and money. It's it's an easy way for people without a skill of any kind who have questionable ethics to make money fast. You're being paid a lot of money to be muscle, protection, etc. And maybe you don't have a marketable skill besides that. Cool. That there's a place for you in the mob. The second thing is protection. It's if you're with this gang, and this definitely goes to street gang culture. If you join a gang, the gang will protect you from other gangs or anything else that might harm you, which is mostly other gangs, or even just lone Omar types, lone gunmen, robbers, etc. Except that at any given time, because the mob can be across genre, across ages, across race, across culture, can be capricious. At any given time, your loyalty doesn't mean anything, because if they decide, as in the case of Road to Perdition, I think it's in the movie, not the book, where the kid saw something he shouldn't have seen, and they're like, rather than just say, "Listen, let him shut up about it," like just tell him like you can't talk. They're like, no, we'll kill the whole family. Okay, but hear me out. I'm from human resources for the mob now. Now hear me out. Hear me out. He's your most loyal killer, and he does a good job at it. So maybe spare his family and just make sure that let the father take control of his own family. No, it's just better to kill him. It's safer that way. And I'm thinking to myself, why even be in the mob then?
Well,
or have a family at the very least.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, I believe in the comic, it was the elder Looney who decided to kill O'Sullivan, whereas in this it was his son. Can we talk about Daniel Craig before his most famous role as Benoit Blanc?
Young Daniel Craig.
Yeah. That was more him and his machinations. So the movie plot in some ways was a little more complex. I mean, yeah, the son went off the rails in the comic too, but once that happened, the dad was like, okay, yeah, you got to take him out, just like the mob boss in John Wick and everything else. It's like, yeah, I got to protect my son. It's like, okay, but why do you think this guy will be easy to kill? Like you employ him and you fear him because of this, and so now you're going to take him on in that realm.
Well, that was the funny thing about John Wick. When everyone realized who it was, who knew him, it was like, oh God, you've woken a
Yeah.
sleeping giant. That's not necessarily the case here with Road to Perdition. It was they assumed killing him and his family would be easy peasy.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, it wasn't as easy as they thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And and they ended up dying because of it. But like the mob never learns, gangs never learn.
Yeah, we just kill enough people, it'll work out. But shoot, where was I going with that? I don't know. Oh, the thing that I thought was interesting in the book, because I do think they kind of reached the same conclusion, but in the book it's revealed at the end that the son is writing down this story before he goes to lead a service as a Catholic priest.
Right.
And in the book, he actually kills some people. Again, to protect his father. I mean, I don't, he didn't know what else to do. It was a kill or be killed, or your dad be killed situation. But so, maybe you could ask, well, did the father save the son in the book? Was that not what the book was concerned about? I don't think the father saved him, but I imagine. Now, there are apparently sequels and prequels, so maybe there's one of them where he's a hitman priest. Because I know, if movies have taught me nothing else, it's that the Catholic Church employs a lot of assassin priests.
Right.
Sometimes Arnold Schwarzenegger has to hang out of a helicopter and chase one.
Sure.
End of days. Oh man, did I just do the Michael Scott thing where I quote the movie and then that's not good. But so in that, my argument from my perspective would be, okay, he saw that, he did some stuff, and he decided, hey, let's actually be a part of this faith that my dad, at least paid lip service to. And he made that choice. So I would argue that he was saved in that as well. Although,
well, I've been waiting to bring this up, and I guess now is a good time as any. I actually prefer the ending to the book than I do the movie. I don't think the ending to the movie is bad or anything like that. I mean, Tom Hanks saves him from committing murder. And I think because, we're both around plus or minus 50 years old. And we've watched a lot of movies, and we've read a lot of books, and we've seen a lot of fictional killing. Neither one of us, to my knowledge, have ever been in the military or have actually killed anybody. But I think we can say without too much hemming and hawing that killing somebody is weighty business. And it's treated in most cases on television, in movies, and in books as it ain't nothing at all. Killing a guy, here is something you can't understand. How I could just kill a man. You just do it. There's no respect for life or the action of killing a human being. And I think the movie does a really good job of treating the act of killing as alchemy of the soul. It will change you. If Michael's son had killed Jude Law at the end of the movie, he will be forever changed by the experience. I do like that, but not as much as the book, where the kid goes through the experience, has to kill a handful of people in order to get out of this alive, and then because he is an orphan, gives his life to the church. Like, I'm going to spend the rest of my life repenting and trying to do better, and and trying to positively affect the lives of others, which is my impression of how the book ends.
Yeah.
I prefer the book to the movie.
Well, and that gets back to, I think the movie ending is tidier because, and not to say that a movie can't leave you thinking about things. Like we did, speaking of Daniel Craig, I've still been wrestling with the moral implications of Cowboys and Aliens ever since we talked about that.
It was a rough podcast, buddy.
That was what I meant to say. I wasn't going to call him James Bond. I was going to go Cowboys and Aliens, but I forgot and had to grasp Benoit Blanc, which is just a fantastic role. But
it's just dumb. Sorry, keep going.
So that ends tidier. It's like, why is Michael going to be okay? Because he didn't take a life. And like I said, I like that. that works. But yeah, in the book, we're left with the implication that he's okay, even though he took a life, that there
Right.
is hope and redemption possible.
And I think that's important, as a theme. I think that's important, that going all the way back to the beginning of this podcast about like confession, I do believe in the power of repentance, confession, and in the healing. I'm a therapist. If I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I already don't know what I'm doing with my life, but I would be even worse. I have to believe you can get better even if you started out in life as fairly heinous, or I don't know what any of us are doing anymore. At some point you start to ask, like, why don't we then if nobody can be rehabilitated, why aren't we just ending life? Why are we subscribing to this philosophy of respect for life when clearly there are just some lives that are so evil that there's nothing we can do about it? If you believe that, we are way worse off than not.
Yeah.
So I choose to believe in the power of rehabilitation. So I like the idea that Michael can have done some fairly heinous things, shake it off, and dedicate his life to doing better.
Yeah, I agree. I like that, and I don't know if that was supposed to show a belief or a confidence in his faith, or if it was just to show, well, what's the most visual dynamic opposite of a mob enforcer? How about a priest, like a legitimate priest? But yeah, I appreciated that. Now let me ask you something that I've been wondering, because you are more of a movie buff than I mean, I love movies, but you're far more knowledgeable than me. I know Max Allan Collins, in addition to comics, has written a lot of novels and novelizations. He adapts some other stuff like Mickey Spillane's. He's picked up some of Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer things. And so where does this fall in the Road to series, Road to Singapore, Road to Zanzibar? And is Tom Hanks the Bing Crosby or Bob Hope character?
I'm going to go with Bing Crosby.
Okay. All right, you're witness.
Okie dokie. We're getting close to an hour here. I want to just get some random thoughts.
Okay. I like it.
The movie's pretty good. This is a first watch for me. I've never seen it before. This is one of those where I think people talked about it when it came out. Obviously, it won an Oscar. But it was, it's kind of like in this group of like prestige movies that were talked about at a time that I was so punk rock about my movie viewing habits, I rejected anything that was good. Like, hey, I understand everyone's talking about The Green Mile and I Am Sam and Road to Perdition, but fuck you. I want to watch Black Mama, White Mama. That's what I want to do. I'm going to watch all the trauma movies. So, I had never seen Road to Perdition. It was too prestige for me at the time. Having watched it now, there's a lot of great craft here. The set pieces, the actual like set design is magnificent looking, very ornate. I think very of its time. I have to give Tom Hanks a lot of credit. I know some of us are not huge fans of Tom Hanks because they believe or somehow know that he is of dubious moral behavior. I cannot confirm or deny that, so I'm not going to speak to it. I will only speak to the length and breadth of Tom Hanks's acting career. And the fact that Tom Hanks can go from Bosom Buddies to The Money Pit to Philadelphia to Castaway, and then, later on in his career, all of these movies that he's done as an elder statesman of the acting world, he really is a talented guy. Does everything is everything that he's in, or is all his performances outstanding? Absolutely not. Have you seen him in Elvis? But I would say for the most part, he has more hits than losses. He has more wins than losses. And I've never in my life really appreciated Tom Hanks as like an intense actor. You know, like I don't think he brings any menace. That's the word I was actually looking for. I've never felt menaced by Tom Hanks. And here, I don't know where he went to in his body and soul, but he brings a menace to this character. Like when he shoots Daniel Craig in the bathtub, like he's scratching his back, you know, and wow, I don't think I've ever seen Tom Hanks look and feel the way he does anywhere else than in that scene. I was really impressed with that.
And I think that's one of the things that was really effective about his casting. I mean, I don't think this movie feels the same if, say, present day
like
Daniel Craig is in that role, or Tom
Well,
Cruise.
I was gonna say like Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
Like I could see a casting director going with the low hanging fruit of Bruce Willis, who does brooding very well.
yeah, and not that he couldn't have played the part, but it's
Mhm.
just a whole nother level when it's Tom Hanks.
I was gonna say I completely believe Bruce Willis will shoot a guy in a bathtub and have no emotion about it. I
Yeah.
don't believe the guy from Big will do that.
Exactly, yeah. So that's one of those
Unless
times
he walked
where
in on a floor piano. You know, do 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 do.
what if he and Paul Newman had done that on the floor piano instead of just on the regular piano at the party?
Oh my god! Well, that last scene where he shoots Paul Newman in the rain, I was like, that whole thing needed piano at the bottom.
Yeah.
That whole shootout, really.
Yeah, but yeah, that's definitely one of those
silly motherfuckers. You know that?
Well, we got to have a little fun. It's like this guy bonding with his son by murdering people, but being careful to tell his son, "Do as I say, not as I do." You gotta laugh a little.
That's what's missing from Road to Perdition, is doing all of that, but on a floor piano.
Yeah. So some like jaunty, like saloon piano music.
That's what Road to Perdition needed. More jaunt.
Yeah. I want to see. I mean, Thomas Newman's score was great, but yeah, I'd like to see somebody recut that with like some polka music or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway.
Road to Polka-dition.
Well, that's going to be a new song. Let me work on that.
All right.
Every time I do one of these podcasts, I get a new idea for a song to menace people with. Outside of that, like I like the book. Of the graphic novels that we've read, some of them are hit and miss with me, and it's more of like I've enjoyed the experience of comparing and contrasting. Here, I think I like the book and the movie about equally.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I was not. The book was pretty legible. I could follow it from end to end. Excuse me. The movie was also easy enough to follow. I think it's the best example of all the ones we've done where this medium worked. This story works in either medium.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we do this and like this doesn't work in this medium, but it worked here, or vice versa. Or this was not a way to handle this. I honestly think Road to it's funny to me that we waited this long to do it, because it's not my favorite of things that we've done. That's the one we did last year of the one in the future.
Well, Surrogates,
yeah, that's still Surrogates, but this is probably, in terms of pure craft, the best comic strip we've ever done, where the book and the movie were the best examples of this type of art.
Yeah, well, and in this one we can say there's differences and there's things we may have preferred in one or the other, but I think we both agree the comic and the movie, while different, were pretty good. And how often do we usually say, this was a great idea, I see why somebody wanted to make a movie out of this, but and this, family man, hitman on the run with a kid, that's a good concept on its own. For the movie, let's put Tom Hanks in it. But then I think they executed the idea as well. I mean, Surrogates, I think we both agreed the comic was much better than the movie.
Oh, yeah. By far.
Yeah.
The last thing I'm going to say, and then I'll give you the very last word. This is also one of those experiences where talking about it made me appreciate both more than my independent. So if people like why, I know film talk is dying. People doing like podcasts and TikToks talking about film. The interest, for the most part, is starting to wane. People don't really care. They don't see the importance of film discussion. Here's why I think it's important. Talking about the book and talking about the movie with you made me appreciate the book and the movie much more than the isolated viewing and reading experiences.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the things I love about comics and movies is sharing it with people.
Because there were things out of this discussion, like my takeaway from the individual engagement experiences, I didn't really connect with what happened to the son until we talked about it, and I'm like, oh wow, these are much better than I thought they were. Your last thoughts, sir?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this. This is one of my, as now everything's based on a comic. It's not as surprising, but this was my go-to after A History of Violence. Maybe even this was number one because more people had heard of it and knew Tom Hanks. Did you know that was based on a comic? Now it's like, oh, actually, that movie is not based on a comic. It just looks like every other comic book based movie. So that was always this and History of Violence were my go-tos. So now I'm going to have to find a new one to surprise people with. Yeah, I enjoyed it. The comic was always on my list to read, but also, I mean, it took me a while to get to the point where I could accept comic books that didn't involve people flying. And well, I mean, there was punching and shooting, but all with conventional weapons, and nobody was a human animal hybrid or anything. So maybe that's why I never quite got around to it. But then sometimes you say, hey, what do you want to talk about? And other times you say, hey, we're talking about this. So we're talking about Road to Perdition. I read it. I revisited the movie, which I actually have with a Blockbuster label on it. That's from whence I acquired it. So it's a relic. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
I went to dinner with my parents recently, and my dad, who is 78 years old, just turned 78. My mom just turned 79. And my dad has this really large collection of DVDs, but it's a collection of DVDs he's amassed since he moved to Florida back in 2005. And he always likes to tell me, he was just like, I'm afraid I have this large collection of DVDs because I'm afraid what will happen to me if I can't leave the house, if I'm too infirmed, if I'm too physically unable to get out of this house and go do stuff like I do currently, because he is at the spry age of 79. He's at a No Kings protest today with my mother and and one of my kids. So they're still out there, resisting death. And he's like, but what if one day, I can't leave the house. I have to have things to do. So I have all of these DVDs so that I could watch movies just in case I can't leave. And I was like, didn't see streaming coming, did you? Or, or did you not think about like his whole thing was cable's not enough. And I didn't know streaming was going to be a thing. I have to have physical DVDs.
Oh, I still have physical DVDs. Like my brother's not.
I know. That's why I brought that up. Like, you and my father should go fucking bowling.
He'd probably win. My brother is like, I don't need these anymore. So because here's why. I don't trust the streamers. Like, a couple years ago we did Mighty Ducks Game Changers. Now, not that I had a desperate need to revisit Mighty Ducks Game Changers or even watch the second season. I enjoyed the first one, but it's not on Disney Plus anymore. I think because of like licensing. If you can't watch Mighty Ducks on Disney Plus, what are we even doing?
That's a great point.
So, when society collapses, I will be able to trade entertainment for protection and food.
That's right, unless you aggravate somebody and then you get shot along with your whole family.
Well, I mean that happened. Like, hey, you guys got any baked beans? I got Road to Perdition.
We only take grilling beans in my gang, me and Jesse. Ask Jesse about tomorrow when you record Snap material. Ask Jesse about them grilling beans.
Okay.
Oh gosh, you had it when you were talking about like physical media, and I've now lost it. So since I can't remember what the hell I was about to say, that's Comic Stripped, everybody. Next month, Evan and I will be doing Whiteout, another one of these movies where who knew this used to be a comic book. This is I think Kate Beckinsale's in this. Greg Rucka wrote the book Whiteout, what the movie was based on, and that's going to be May 9th. So that's when Evan and I will be getting together again. And then in June, I put on the schedule Wilson. Do we have anything for April?
Oh, another Tom Hanks?
Dick. Let me see.
Yeah, ball's in your court now, Mark.
No, we have nothing for the month of April because I got stuff going on. So nothing for the month of April. So yeah, we'll be back in May for Whiteout, and then June is Wilson, the book, the movie. I believe that's an independent film. And then I don't think we have anything after that. So you and I will have to talk about how we want what kind of stuff we want to talk about next. That's comic adjacent. I have to go back to the list because at this point I'm not entirely sure what's left that we haven't done.
I'd still like to, if I could ever track down an affordable copy of The Scribbler.
Yeah, that's what I keep putting off because like finding copies of things is difficult.
Yeah.
So, there's that. There's other stuff where they're not necessarily isolated graphic novels; they were series of comics. So like I think that's like BRPD or something like that. There's that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of horror comics, which every time I look at those, I'm just like, ugh.
BPRD is Hellboy. Are you thinking of RIPD?
Maybe RIPD.
Okay.
So you and I will have to have a meeting and we'll talk about what we want to do later in the year. I'm hoping we get another Red Sonja type of thing because that was fun.
That horse, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. This past week, back to the present day. Last Sunday was Metal Hammer of Doom. We looked at Rob Zombie, The Great Satan. And then Monday, myself and Robert. Hey, if you've ever wanted to know what a podcast sounds like when Robert Winfrey and I actually like something, check out Project Hail Mary. Everyone says, oh, Robert Winfrey, he's so negative. He was absolutely gushing about this movie in only the way that Robert Winfrey can gush. I was also very positive about it. We had almost no complaints, but it wouldn't be a damn you Hollywood if we didn't complain about something. So,
okay?
Yeah, I know. So yeah, check out Project Hail Mary. Right now, it's my number one movie of the year, and I think it is for Robert. But as we both pointed out, tallest midget. This past Thursday, me and Sean and Kat did. Speaking of guys with guns, Swimming with Sharks, Suicide Kings, and American Psycho. Triple feature. Tomorrow, as I said, myself and Jesse will be on Source Material talking Batman, Bruce Wayne, Fugitive. Monday is Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, Dirk.
I'll take movies that didn't need sequels for 200, Alex.
No shit, Sherlock. And then
well, to be fair, I liked Black Phone too. Completely unnecessary.
Yeah, utterly unnecessary. It wasn't bad. It's just, it wasn't half bad, but it wasn't half good neither. And then Thursday, April 2nd, myself and Shay Tate, good old cute Shay Tate, lovely Shay Tate, just the nicest, prettiest girl, Shay Tate. She and I will be doing a Kevin Kline live performance trio. We are looking at the Pirates of Penzance, the Lovely, and a Prairie Home Companion because I like to torture people. Speaking of torturing people, Evan Bevins, show us where you pissed from.
If you like my ideas but hate the sound of my voice, you can check out my blog at *51.blogspot.com. Got distracted by something. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus trying to build up some material. I'm taking the unprecedented step. No one has ever done this in the blogosphere or the internet before of rewatching the Marvel Cinematic Universe since there's some big movies coming up. But I haven't written a lot about the Marvel movies. And my oldest daughter is letting me acknowledge she exists and share her opinion of the movies as well. So be working on that, looking for some other fun, weird comics to read and write about. But until anything new drops, you can check out my recaps of Stan Lee reimagining the DC Universe, Secret Defenders, and NFL Super Pro.
Evan Bevins' favorite comic, NFL Super Pro.
That's not my favorite comic is The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, followed by Marvel 2-in-1.
Fair.
But NFL Super Pro is my favorite professional sports tie-in comic. Wait, hang on. Does Barkley versus Godzilla count?
Yes.
Anyway, you can read all about all of that stuff on there. And then, over on the Source Material Comics podcast, Jesse Starcher and I get together once a month to talk about a thing. Marvel Snap, the mobile game, Snap material. And also over on Magazines and Monsters, Billy D, Ed Moore, and I have been going through the 80s Marvel series Marvel Fanfare, which I had heard about but never really read. And it's got some good stuff and some weird stuff and some good weird
Billy
stuff.
D's occasionally comes into my TikTok live. Does he ever tell you about that?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
well, he doesn't like to share trauma on the air. So
I understand. I play these. What I've been doing is when I don't want to be on camera, but I have time to do a TikTok live, I'll just play I'll go just do an audio to TikTok live, and I'll play a podcast that I've done previously. So he's come into a couple of those and like heard me play a podcast on TikTok live. TikTok live.
TikTok live.
TikTok live. All right. So for Evan Bevins, I have to go eat lunch now. Be well. Here we go. Be well. Be safe and behave.